Hello and welcome to The Money Honey, the podcast that brings you women in property and finance. I'm your host, Rosalia Lazara from Manuka Media. And today I have the pleasure of interviewing not only an ex-client who I worked with for a while and had the pleasure of being part of her brand transformation, but definitely now a friend and someone who daily entertains me on social media, especially with her daughters dancing in the background. I don't know if she knows that I know that, but yes, I do follow that. I'm talking about Joanna Streames from Velvet Mortgage and Insure. And if this is not the money honey, I don't know who is. I mean, have you ever seen a money honey that looks like this? No, you haven't. Okay. So let's bring her in. I can't wait. There she is.
Oh, I shouldn't have trusted you, should I, to take your pic from all the photos? I should have known.
You said, here's my album, take whatever you want. So I was like, yes, I knew what pictures were coming.
Oh dear, I don't look as glamorous today. Like I just said to you, I forgot about the fact that you were videoing this. So I'm very natural today. I've just got a red and pink cup, that's it.
Yes. And your frame in the background, I love the natural look. That's how you and I met most days anyway. I think most of the time.
No, much worse.
Yeah. You were showing up with your hair in rollers, in pins, in like, you just come out the shower. Yeah, you were at the salon. Once, I swear, like your hairdresser was like, what are these two chatting about? But that was all the joy. That was the pleasure of working with you. And I bet you're like that with your clients as well. You just show up as who you are, right?
No.
Well, maybe not as...
They don't see me in a turban with wet hair. I might be on the phone to them, but they don't know that I've got a wet hair in the turban. So
very true. But look, for anyone who hasn't had the pleasure of following you or hasn't connected with you and maybe doesn't know who you are, tell us, who are you? What do you do?
Who am I? So I'm Joanna Streames. I'm owner of Velvet Mortgage and Insure services. And we basically, in a nutshell, the easiest way to explain is we make people financially savvy through making sure they've got not paying too much in interest, if that's at all possible at the moment, on their mortgages. So we make you financially savvy, and then we protect your world and insure your heart, your own little world, and what's important to you. That's what we do. So we're in mortgages and protection insurance, so life insurance, critical illness, business protection, that sort of stuff.
Absolutely. I mean, that's sort of big stuff, guys. Like that's big stuff. Like it's not just
vital.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And I've seen you share your story before. I don't know how much of that you want to bring to the table today. But I guess my question is, why do you do what you do? You know, it always comes down to that why. How did you get into this?
Well, how I got into it is it was an accident. It was an accident, but it mustn't have been an accident. So long story short, but I was working in property, so still kind of related, of course. And I thought, oh God, it's such a long story. So I used to love the show Countdown, right? So I've never told anyone this before. This is an exclusive.
You've heard it here first time.
I used to love the show. I was such a buff when I was at school. I was playing Monopoly. I was watching Countdown. I was doing crosswords. And so I loved Countdown and Richard Whiteley. And then he died, and then Des O'Connor and various other people took over. And I watched it after that, and I was like, oh, it's just not the same. And I couldn't watch it anymore. And I used to watch it, and I was really good. And I used to think, when I'm a grown up and I've got an even better vocabulary, I'm going on this show and I'm going to win. And then he died, and I never felt the same. So then I was watching The Apprentice, right? And then I suddenly had that moment a few seasons in, and I thought, could be a Countdown moment. I should apply for this just for a laugh, just see how far I get. Otherwise, it's going to be one of those things that I wish I'd done and never did. So I went for it, just literally as a joke. I thought, I won't even get past the first round. And I got further and further and further. And I was thinking, oh, I was so nervous. I remember my legs going to jelly on the first day. And I kept getting further along. And I got right to the very end. In fact, I think it was 2010. And I walked back to the tube station with Stella English. She was the winner, and she took Alan Sugar to court actually afterwards.
What?
So she was that woman, yeah. So what happened was, you kind of like do a lot of The Apprentice that gets shown. You do those sort of tasks behind the scenes, and they record it. So I was really at the end, about 25 people or something out of 25,000, and there was kind of like the older sort of gutsy woman, and it was me and Stella in that kind of bracket. And we were walking to the tube station, and she was like, I think you've got it. And I was like, I think you've got it. But to be honest, I went home that evening, had 3 young children, and you were only allowed to see them for, no, you weren't allowed to see them. I think you had to be in the house for like 12 weeks, and you were only going to get 15 minutes to speak to them. So all night I was tossing and turning, thinking, please don't let it be me. But I feel like it's going to be me. Like, take fate, take it out of my hands, and don't be me. And then they phoned me, the producers phoned me the next day to say it wasn't me. And then I cried my eyes out because they didn't want me. So I spent all night panicking, thinking, how can I be away from my children? But I can't give the opportunity up. So that's what happened. And in that process, the company I worked for promised me all sorts of things. They promised to make me a partner and this and that. And then as time went on, I said, don't tell me lies and make me promises just to keep me here unless it's true, because I won't trust you then. And that's exactly what they did. And about a year down the line, I realised that they'd been telling me porkies, messing me around. So that was it. When I realised that and cornered the main guy that had been telling me all this, I just walked out there and then. Terrible, really, isn't it? 3 children, house to run. But I just thought, I can't work somewhere where I don't trust people. So I left, and I got home to my driveway and thought, what have I just done? And then I rang the guy who ran the financial services bit in the agency and said, would you have me to work for you, or would it be stepping on, you know, Mr. So-and-so's toes? And he said, no, I'd have you in a heartbeat. So next thing, I'm in there, I'm brokenhearted. I grieved for my property career like I've never grieved for a man. And I was like, it was worse than a breakup. And the next thing, I'm working in this. So that's a really long-winded story, but that's how it happened. And then I was there.
That's amazing.
I love this. This is where I was meant to be. I couldn't believe that insurance could be such a calling, and that I just literally fell in love with it. And I thought, people aren't doing a good job here. Like, this is crazy. People in the company, there was loads of advisors, but barely anybody was talking about income protection or anything to do with things like that. So I was just like, oh. And yeah, that was where it stemmed from, really. And I later had mortgages.
That's a transformational journey. I know you've just condensed it, and you probably have so many other cool stories and bit of gossip in the industry, I'm sure. But I think what the highlight for me is that, you know, this is about women in property and finance. This is about women and money. This is about money and the industry. So what about people that are looking to enter, or maybe they're already in the industry, but actually they're struggling to find their feet, or they're struggling to find their voice? How did you find, because we're going to talk about your branding, right, and how you really embraced your brand, but what kind of advice would you give to someone who hasn't yet found their calling?
Well, I worked in that company, and it was not a good culture in that company. It really wasn't. And it was known for not having a great culture, but I didn't know anything else. So I was fighting within that company, trying to break the ceiling from within, and it just was never happening for me. It was just one whole 7 years of frustration. Some of the stories that I could tell you are actually insane. So I just got to a point, again, it's a bit of a theme really, isn't it, where I thought, I can't do this anymore. I can't. And I left very suddenly again with no backup. Had my 3 daughters, I'm single, and I had no money behind me whatsoever. I just separated from my husband about 1.5 years before, you know, so I was buying him out of the house and all this sort of thing. I didn't have a penny behind me, but I just thought, I just can't do the things they're wanting me to do anymore. It just doesn't sit right with me. And there's no point in keep trying to break the ceiling and change things within this company. I need to leave to be able to do that. So I think I was always telling my own story and doing things my own way, no matter what. So I had that somehow in a strength, which I think comes from my past. So I had the balls, if you like, to do that. You know, that's who I am. But then I realized that I had to leave and set up on my own to do that. And not everybody will have to do that. Maybe they just have to find their perfect partner to work with, i.e., you know, employer. But just be yourself. Don't be anything other than yourself. Don't do things you don't want to do. Our industry has an awful way to go up, in my mind, to be where it needs to be. And currently, my view from people that I speak to who are non-industry do not trust us. A lot of people do not trust us. So until that is rectified, and there is a whole world of things to rectify there, of which I'm trying to rectify some or make some small changes that hopefully lead to bigger changes. But I don't think I'll get everything done in my lifetime. So you actually could come into this industry now. It's really exciting, and connect with what you're doing. So if you're in the industry already and you're not doing the things you should, i.e. protecting people in the right way, if you're a mortgage advisor just giving mortgage advice only and not protecting people, or not making sure they have someone who can protect them, have a little stop, give your head a wobble, that's what I say, have a think about it, about what you're actually doing. You're lumbering somebody with a debt, and then because you don't really understand it, or it's hassle, or it doesn't come natural, you're not protecting them properly. So learn a bit more and connect with that person at the end, because we've had calls, you know, we had a chap that we'd only insured a couple of months before, and he called us and he had throat cancer. And if you haven't done a good job, I mean, you know, we cried all day. Bella, my daughter, who works with me full time, she spoke to somebody last week, a new client who was recommended, a youngish guy last week, and she came back in the room. She went and did her call in a different room. She came back into the room where we all sit afterwards and was crying her eyes out. And I was thinking, what? I was on a call, and I was thinking, what's going on? And afterwards, she was sobbing because she'd found out the reason he wanted cover was because the day after asking his fiancée to marry him, they went to the hospital, and his fiancée to be has got terminal cancer in their early 30s.
Oh my goodness.
So we take those calls. So don't be that, you know, reconnect with what you're doing.
Yeah.
Because it's game changing what you're doing for people. You know, you can't avoid these awful things happening, but just make sure that you've given them that, you know, safety blanket, that you've done what you're meant to be doing. So that's my advice, really. Reconnect and just be yourself, and you know in your gut what's right and what's not right. And if you're in a company that's not right, go and find a company that is right, or go on your own.
Absolutely. You know what? There's so many things you've said in there that I want to just pick out, just in case anyone's missed them. But number one, you've actually reminded me that it's okay to quit. Like, loads of people are like, no, just stick it out. Actually, I like quitting. I've actually quit so many things in the past, or quit people, or quit a job, or quit something because if it's not right, like you say, you need to get out. Don't think that the only way to success is to stick things out and to be the longest standing person in a company, because as Joanna has experienced and I've experienced, sometimes these are just promises that are made to you, but actually they don't come to fruition. So quit when the time is right. When you know you need to get out, quit. Joanna's also raised a point about working in a supportive environment, or working for the right people, reconnecting with your why. Absolutely. Why do you do what you do? And how could you not? The sense of duty really comes out in Joanna, like your sense, you're calling for duty and not leaving any man down, right? No one's going to be left not looked after. This is what I'm getting from you. So that's really responsible. That's not only are you a responsible mum, a responsible business owner, but you're also responsible in the industry, and that really does come through. Hence, I wanted you on the show, but also to talk about some of the other stuff that you're doing outside of work, which is also linked. Tell us about football.
Oh, football. This is really good. I don't know what's coming next. It's like a bit nerve-wracking.
I know, like, come on, it's just us two. We're always chatting.
So actually, today, funnily enough, I put up a post on LinkedIn, and I put finance, football, and family, because they are super important things to me. So finance, obviously, I just liked it because it was all the F's, no swearing, all the good F's. And I thought, right, I went in and I did a talk at my old, it was called lower school back then, obviously it's primary and secondary now, on Friday, and that was just unbelievable. I was so nervous, it was insane. I was like, okay, so I'm speaking to 7, 8, 9, 10, 11-year-olds, like, what's going to happen? What's going to happen if one of them are awkward? If then, like, I did not know what to expect. I've spoken on stage a lot of times, I've done lots of presentations, but never to that age group. So that was really nerve-wracking, but just honestly, I can't tell you how amazing. Like, I wish I could just do that every day, but my bills wouldn't get paid. So, but that was phenomenal. And then we brought into it football because actually, a chap that I'm working closely with, Damon Fox from Northampton Town Community Trust, so Northampton Town Football Club, came along with me. So I went to an event put on by my network, Primus, probably about, might have been 2 years ago. And it was a leadership event, and there was 50 of us there, and very few of us were women, by the way. 3 of us were women, so that was noticed by me very visually. It was not long after one of our lockdowns, and it was at the St George's Hotel, which is our football hotel, right? So all the 2018s train there, all the different England teams, and I absolutely love football and always have. Die-hard fan of Tottenham and England, you know. Through the pain, lots and lots of pain, and still a football fan. I grew up in Northampton, if you can say that I grew up, and I came away from that event, and there were a couple of young guys, and they'd been sponsoring a rugby club. And I just thought, right, I literally wrote down straight away, oh my God, that's what we need to do. If it's good enough for the men, it's good enough for the women. So I'm going to find who can I sponsor. So I thought, Tottenham, probably a bit out of my league price-wise to sponsor them. So I was like, Northampton Town, that's where I grew up. So that's where I had my babies. And so, yeah, that was it. And my eldest daughter, who lives in Dubai, I came back all excited. It was just one of my ideas, and I'm very quick to action things. I go with my gut. Definitely go with my gut now. I didn't used to. I used to hide what my gut was saying and try and think sensibly. Now I just shoot from the gut. So I was like, right, okay, my gut instinct's telling me, contact Northampton Town. So I did, and then, you know, really proud to sponsor them and their shirt. But it's given me, as with many things, a lot more than I ever expected. So it is a wonderful community, and it's like everyone loves to be part of a community, and it doesn't happen so often anymore. But to see young girls, they've been winning, and then a couple of weeks ago we were at Sixfield Stadium, their home stadium, and we were out on the pitch and we were having photos with the team, and all of that's wonderful. But what really got me was that we played brilliantly. We won the match, and at the end I went down to see the top scorer, and there was all these little girls fangirling this, you know, player at the stands. And I just thought, oh my God, I just stood back and watched, and I thought, oh, that is so brilliant. Because Kate, my eldest, she loves football. She plays in Dubai. She had a kickabout with Anthony Joshua. She had a night out with Raheem Sterling a couple of months ago. So, you know, it's just like a real passion in our family. I can't play it, but I love watching it. So, you know, it's an alignment with finance. You finance and football, not enough women. So we need to bring more women in. And then obviously I was very fortunate that suddenly, you know, the women won the Euros. That was amazing. For
yes, what a great time.
Yeah, and I'm like, oh, I was at the beginning of all this, so it's really good to see it going in that direction.
Absolutely, like phenomenal. Not only what you're doing in the industry, but outside the industry for your own community, as well as the industry community of financial services. And that is what I call, you know, my strap line for Manuka Media is positive pollination. I like surrounding myself with people who I just kind of see myself like I'm a little bee and I'm doing my little bit, and then you love honey as well, which was the other thing. This was the other thing I found really weird when we started working together. You were like, oh yeah, your business is all to do with bees, and I love honey. I was like that is a.
I think I asked you before I'd even click that, because I judge people on whether they like honey or not. If they don't like honey, I've got a slight reservation. Where I think,
if you don't like honey,
are you kind? If you don't, like, how can you not like honey? It is the food of the god. It is like a cuddle in a piece of
exactly. So it's like, and that's why we called our brand when we rebranded. And I know we use the same brand strategist, because thanks to you, you know, I loved what they did with your brand, that I wanted something with mine. But that's why we still kept the bee theme, because of my strong attachment to what bees do for the world and the community and our food and you know, sustainability. And like, that's how I see you. I feel like you're out there spreading your pollen and your joy and your positivity, and you're making the world a better place. Like, I'm not taking credit for that, but because I couldn't do it on my own. Like you said, you can't change the world of women in finance on your own, or women in property, but you're doing your bit. I'm doing my bit. And that's what positive pollination is. And together, obviously, then the sweet result is honey, or just people actually in the world. Like, we wouldn't be alive if we didn't have, or we wouldn't be as well fed, let's say, if we didn't have bees. So I love that. I also love the fact that you're working with your daughter. So before we end this show, tell me just the final words about what it's like working with your daughter in the business, and raising such a smart, intelligent, confident woman who doesn't believe in herself anywhere near as much as she should. If Bella's listening to this, isn't that right though, Joanna?
True.
She just doesn't realize what she is yet. But what is it like for a mother to raise a daughter and bring her in this workplace?
Well, you know, I was feeling really good then. I was thinking I've got to the end of this podcast without tears, but when you started saying that, I was starting to choke, and I was like, oh. So, you know, for the people listening that don't know my story, my mum died the day after I was 19, and that left me bringing up my 12-year-old sister with not enough finances in place to make that an easier journey. It was a really, really tough journey. I've had such tough times financially, but something in me has always remained resilient and strong, and known that there's something better. Back in those days, my girls don't remember, so I've got 3 daughters, and, you know, there's been times where I've been really, really hard up, and emotionally not having your mum there is really, really tough at all those important times. So you literally live for your children. I know everyone says that, and I believe everyone feels that, but when that is your only, you know, your empire is just, you're at the top, and all you're doing is building downwards. You've got nothing above you anymore. It just means the world. And again, it was a happy accident. She can't get insurance herself, by the way, this girl. So she is uninsurable because of her health conditions, which sadly, some I found out when I was pregnant with her, and then she was diabetic from age 8. And we've been through the mill with her medically. And she was at a company being really micromanaged, and she could only have half an hour lunch break. And it got to the point where she felt that she couldn't go on her medical appointments, so she was missing them. So as a mum, I was like, you know, Liam Neeson mode, like, you're coming to me. I'd only just started on my own. Again, didn't have a pot to piddle in. I'd only just started out, and as I said, I left that company with nothing behind me. So, but I just thought, she can't stay there. Her health is everything. So she came temporarily while she set up her marketing company, which was a wall hire, you know, sweet blooming wall company, and it did really well. She started to get lots of bookings, and then in the meantime, but again, another happy accident, she fell in love with the industry. And she is, you know, she is my daughter, and I know she suffers badly from imposter syndrome, and she is stunning to look at. You know, I think that's why she suffers from it, because she said people don't take her seriously, never have. You know, she looks like Miss World, and, you know, she's a real head turner. And she just always feels like, you know, people don't take her seriously. She's always having to fight imposter syndrome. But that girl, honestly, it's incredible to me. We have people that have been in the industry for years and years and years, and then we'll be in a group setting, and then something will be said, and she'll be like, no, actually, this company, this, and actually, she does it in a nice way. But I literally am like, I'm inspired. Like, you know, I always say I Pepsi challenge people to know more than me in this industry, because I've made it my business, because my heart, you know, thinks I can't let people go through what I went through. So if there's any way that you can be insured, we'll find it. But she is brilliant, and I think she is really a rising star. And I don't mean to make lots and lots of money, because I know that's how lots of people in our industry measure themselves. We are not the richest company, because we do loads of stuff, like going to speak to little girls saying, please come into our industry when you're older. I used to come to this school, and I own a company. You can do the same. We don't get paid. That doesn't make us any money. It just makes us feel good. And she is on that journey. We were there on Friday, and she was, my other daughter who goes to uni, she helps us with our trust forms. So she helps in the business too. And she was there, and they were like, oh, can we go to my old school? Can we do, you know, and they just wanted to do more and more of that. And it doesn't make money. So they're in it for the right reasons. And that when you've lost your mum and you haven't had that, to see those below you that you're creating just blooming is like, oh my God, absolute. I'm so grateful and I'm so blessed. And she is my inspiration.
She is my inspiration. She's amazing. She's honestly, like, just having you, the time that we spent together on Zoom, and then I came up to Manchester to watch you on stage, and I spent that time together with you guys. It was just,
oh, and she came back for you. Do you remember? Because you were in the restaurant, yabbering away like you do, and we were staying at different hotels, and then we were like, okay, we all said bye, and then we went, and she was like, Mum, Rosalia's on her own. She we need to go back and make sure she's okay, and we'll have to walk her to her hotel. And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah,
and we came back and we were like, I know we went, but she's just.
I didn't even know you'd gone, because I thought, oh, they'll just be outside. But I just thought it was so sweet. I would have just walked home on my own, because like you, it's just someone. I mean, I haven't been through anywhere near the adversity that you've been through, right? Every time I speak to you, I just think, Ros, get a grip. What are you complaining about? Look what other people have been through. Like, honestly, there's just nothing like that I've been through. Yes, we've had loss in our family. Yes. And actually, whatever loss I've had or whatever struggles I've been through, I think I am at least a little bit similar to you in the sense that we just have to survive. And then we don't just go to the point of survival. We go to the point of thriving. Like we don't just look after ourselves. We then end up trying to look after everyone else. And like you, I also go into schools and I help bring financial education and business knowledge into schools as well. Don't get paid a penny for that, but it's some of my best days that I get to spend in my business, empowering the next generation. And so you've got all that under one roof. You've got your daughter coming up. You've got your past. And yeah, it's just a wonderful story. And if anyone wants to connect with Joanna, if you haven't been following her on social, I've got all of her handles here in the show notes. So click below and you'll be able to see where Joanna is, who she is, where, what she's doing. But what last words, just as we come to an end, what would you like to say to anyone listening to this? And I mean anyone. It could be lenders, it could be brokers, it could be women just looking from the outside in. What do you want to leave them with after today?
I suppose what I'd love to always leave people with is just think if you can do something different and something better. So if you're in this industry and you don't really enjoy it, and in your gut it's not really where you should be, leave. Go and find where you are best. Do something that you can leave a legacy. And then for lenders and providers and things like that, I think there's loads of work that we can do together, and I'm working with some, and I'm really excited to see that. And again, let's just simplify things, and not just think about what profits, and let's just think, look, that end product is having people covered. That end product to me goes as far up to government, honestly. Like, if you knew the ambitions I have in terms of making changes, they're huge, because I just think that there's so many more things we can do responsibly. And then I just think we are an amazing country. And yes, women do have many more equal rights. I mean, I'm looking at Qatar right now, being a football fan, and I'm thinking, we forget how lucky we are. And I know women should have equal rights automatically, but we haven't always had. And we don't realise what a strong position we're in the UK as a woman. I think that there's exciting times ahead. And whilst I still want there to be lots of young guys coming in and helping freshen up our industry, I really would love my legacy. If I could leave this earth knowing that not only have I inspired my daughter to come into this industry full time, that if there was a few others, and 5-10 people, anything beyond that would be mind-blowing. Just young girls that I've inspired to come in to the industry and connect with it. Insurance isn't boring. It can be so much fun. We have belly laughs in our office like you wouldn't believe. And if you want job satisfaction, connect with what you're doing. Sit back. Don't think about commission. All that will come, and just think about what you're doing, really. And yeah.
Thank you, Joanna. No, that is the best advice. Absolutely phenomenal. Because, guys, this is why we're bringing you the Money Honey. This show has been brought to you because women in the industry have been asking me, Ros, do something about it, create a show. But there's no show if these women aren't brave enough to speak. If these women will not show up and say yes to my my proposal to come on the show, then there would be no show. So please take this advice on. Joanna's taken time out of a busy day to share with you some inspiration, her journey, her top tips. I'm sure if you want more, you can reach out. But also you need to speak up. Who do you know that needs to be on this show? What story needs to be shared out there? Maybe someone else is doing some sponsorship or charity or anything else in the industry that you want to hear from. Please recommend them, volunteer them, and connect them to me, Rosalia. But thanks again, Joanna, for being on the show, and keep doing what you're doing, and I'll catch up with you offline.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.